Hello everybody, welcome to Monaco Consciousness Group and the Ethereal Virtual Centre. Lovely welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. I've been inspired to put these Mediumship Mondays on for some reason, and it's a question and answer series. Well, we think it will probably be a series, we'll see. So the first thing is, if anybody has got any questions, you're very welcome. Put them in the chat and we'll see if we can answer them. Spirit's present, they're here. So I just want to talk a little bit first, if I may, let's just see if anybody's. I just wish to talk initially about the new virtual centre. It just recently opened, in fact, this last week. And the idea is to create a centre, a virtual centre, which is similar to a physical, how we would imagine a physical centre, where you would walk into a centre, it's got different rooms in it, with different events, different sessions taking place in the various rooms, receptionist at the, in the, as you go through the door, so to speak. And if you book to go for a reading, or you book for a healing session, if you booked on a trance course, etc., etc., this is the plan to have the same concept, but put it over onto a virtual centre, and we've already opened it. Just want to say hello to Caroline and Lisa. Hi guys, thanks for joining us. Lovely to have you with us. Thank you so much. Funny enough, so we're going to have lots of different events. It's already started. We've got about 15 events running through the week already, including daily meditations with Pauline Baumfather and developing your spiritual gifts with Pauline Baumfather and Trish O'Hara. They're on Mondays at 11:30, I believe. And we've got the healing with Sue Townsend and Ria Sufiani, followed by, that's on a Wednesday, followed by inspirational writing with Sue Townsend. And then on Thursdays, we're lucky to have, Thursday mornings, we're lucky to have everybody. Veronica Jenkins, most of you will probably know Veronica Jenkins, does so much in this space. She'll be leading a awakening club on Thursday mornings, and on Friday, at the moment, this is as it is at the minute, Friday afternoons, we have an open circle at 3:30 taken by Sue Townsend, and of course that will be as well as the normal open circles or sitting with spirit on Sunday evenings. We've also got the Moon Phase community, what's called the Moon Phase community. All of these things are open for everybody to be a part of, and we've got other things lined up. So Spirit are trying to really inspire this centre to get up and running, to make as many things in the spiritual space, the spiritual teachings, available for as many people as possible. We'll also have a support room. We'll have different rooms in the centre. Support room, a silent room, meditation room, etc. Channeling, you can practice your channeling in one of the rooms, etc. And of course, practicing mediumship as well. So we do have a mediumship course coming up, starting the week of Tuesday. So it's everything is on Monaco Consciousness Group Facebook or through the virtual centre itself. So hi Sue, thanks for joining us. Lovely to have you with us. Yay. So I'm just explaining the centre and how it's going to operate. And I really want to say thank you to everybody what's been a part of it so far. And it will be ongoing. For those who are interested, one of the things what will be coming up will be the trance work. Will be a trance healing clinic with Melissa Callahan. So we're grateful for Melissa and everybody else offering their time and energy. All these things in the centre are free at the moment, so we really appreciate if there's any donations you'd like to contribute. It all goes towards the centre, etc. And everybody's generally giving everything free at their time. So thanks, that's that. Anyway, mediumship. Let's go to mediumship. Mediumship Mondays. What is mediumship? Mediumship is communication between two worlds, the physical world and obviously what's referred to as the spiritual world. Those planes of existence where our family, friends and loved ones, when they take the transition from this airplane, go to those various planes on the other side. How does it work? Well, there's lots of variations as to what takes place. The big question is what happens at the point of death, or what we call physical death. Of course, everybody's got different perspectives on it. From my understanding, what happens at the point of death, we gravitate our light, our soul, our awareness, and all the memories, all the thoughts and feelings which were gathered and collected, go to a plane of equal magnitude. So basically what it means is we will gravitate to a frequency of reality which matches our own frequency at the point of death, which includes all our thoughts and feelings. And of course, the more work we've done ourselves and the more spiritual teachings we've embraced, and the more we've done shadow work, letting go process, understanding, the various aspects of the subconscious mind, once we can go in there and transform all that energy before we pass, the light of the soul shines brighter, and that will then determine which plane we go to regarding the spiritual planes. That's a simplified version. Hello, Annie. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining us. So the question is, immediately in that respect, mediumship and the communication with other planes, is it better to work on ourselves before we leave this earth plane? Will that lighten the load what we're carrying? Because obviously a lot of people are carrying different aspects, mental experiences, emotional experiences. There is such a thing as a life review, which many people would have heard of, where we take our transition at the point of death, we go into the light, and then we are shown our life, on this big screen, and look at all the rights and wrongs, etc., of our life while I was on the airplane. I believe very firmly, almost without any question anyway, that we now have the opportunity to view our life while we're here on the airplane, so we can transform any energy, any thoughts and emotions what need transforming. And it's beautiful to see, because there is a lot of people doing that at this moment. Now, regarding mediumship and the communication with the other side, first thing we can say with mediums, mediumship can't work without the psyche. Psyche is the mind. It's our consciousness. It's our awareness. So every single medium is also a psychic, if that makes sense. Because the psyche, mediumship is mind to mind. It is telepathy. It's a telepathic attunement between two souls, or three when we're doing a reading. You've got the soul, incarnate soul, which is the medium themselves, and you have the discarnate soul, which is the soul what's taken the transition passed on to the other side of the spirit plane. And you've also got the other incarnate soul, which is the recipient, i.e. the person who's receiving the message here on the earth plane. Interjected in all this is energy and light, especially light. So when we're communicating with the other side, as we say the other side, it's very important to train our mind, train our awareness, open and expand our consciousness, and make sure that we're attuning to those higher, finer, purer frequencies of the spirit world. Hello, Em. Thanks for joining us. So it's important that we make the effort, we prepare ourselves through meditation, etc., expand and open our consciousness, ascend it as best as we can, because then at that point we're kind of expanding our light, and in that expansion we begin the attunement to the spirit planes, or to those beings that come from the spirit plane and come close to us, who wish to convey the message to the family, friend, or loved one. So really it's so important that we check what plane or frequency of energies we're making that attunement to. And of course, that's all dependent on the mind of the medium. So that really dictates and determines the standard of the message which can be conveyed. It's all down to the medium. I'm of the ilk that spirit are never wrong. They've got far greater clarity than the human mind has, including the medium. So what we're looking at is finding the capacity within ourselves to work on ourselves sufficiently enough so that we can make a very clear communication line of communication to those on the spirit planes. Without that, we're going to be in difficulty because our messages will be confused, mixed up, contaminated with our own thoughts, etc., etc. So the idea is to get above or beyond most of our ordinary thoughts, which we have on a daily basis. That's the first thing. So it's making the correct attunement. Recently, I can say there was a conversation take place, and this aspect of giving what you get. Hi, Lynn. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining us. There was an aspect of regarding mediumship what came into the conversation, which said referred to giving what you get. Now, some people are taught just give what you get, which is correct. I totally agree. But it's okay giving what you get. The question is, are you getting it from the correct frequency of the spirit planes? Because that determines, again, the clarity of the communication. What we're trying to achieve during mediumship is a clear link, an uncontaminated link between our own mind, the medium's mind, and the mind of the soul, the discarnate soul, who wishes to convey that message. So it just gives you a bit of a kind of impression that if we really do train our mind, we can really end up giving very clear, precise information. This leads us on to the pace and the speed of messages. Now, because in the light of spirit, or the world of spirit, the light is very fast. It's a fast frequency, beyond what we imagine on the earth plane. So a single thought from a soul on the spirit planes will reach us very quickly. Now, if we can match that frequency, then we'll often see some mediums who will work very fast, very quick. If the mind of the medium cannot attain that attunement, then we'll often see sometimes the frequency can be a bit slow and the messages can be a bit slow. So we're looking at communication with the spirit world, matching their frequency. Spirit have always said, you prepare and we'll provide. So if we prepare ourselves through meditation, clearing out our field, clearing our space, to make that really nice, beautiful attunement, they then will be present, unquestionably. And our mediumship can be quite clear, often astoundingly accurate if we make that attunement. It also raises the question between what is psychic and what is mediumship. So a psychic reading compared to a mediumship reading is very interesting, because like we said, a medium can't be a medium without its own psyche coming into play, coming into action. The mind has got to play the role. So often there can be a mix between information coming from the spirit world, a spirit communicator, so to speak, a discount soul, and the energy which is within and around a person's auric field here on the earth plane. So I don't want to open that up too much. So I'm just going to see if anybody's got any questions, anything they'd like to say or share. Please do put them in the chat if you wish, and we'll try. We're going to go on for about 45 minutes ish, and we'll try and get through those questions. So let's look at what is psychic. The psychic faculty is what it says. It's our own consciousness, and the more we expand our consciousness, the more receptive we are to energies. So a psychic, which is all of us, can read energies, can sense energies, and they interpret them according to their own mind and their own awareness. Now, we have to bear in mind, that when we're interpreting messages, as in the form of interpreting psychic energies, inevitably the individual will interpret that energy according to their knowledge and wisdom, and relay that back to the recipient. Okay, and this is where it can the waters of the psychic messages can get a little bit murky, because basically what's happening is the mind of the psychic, the individual, the channel, if you want to call them that, the mind of the channel, the vessel, is opening themselves up, sensing and feeling the particles and atoms of thoughts and emotions within another individual, i.e. the person, the recipient, sensing those energies within and around the recipient. That information is then fed back to the channel, the psychic, and the channel psychic then puts their interpretation to those feelings and senses and frequencies, etc. Once that interpretation has been done, they then give that back to the recipient. So we can say, where's spirit in all this? Well, spirit will be standing there with that psychic, trying to convey information, what they know, what they're aware of about their life and all their experiences and their relation with the recipient. But if the psychic is closed down to the spirit world and they're not aware, or they can't make that attunement, then that's where we've got what's called a psychic reading. And then you've got the mix. You've got a reading which can be mixed with both the psychic aspect and the mind, what can pick up some information from a discarnate soul who comes around them. I suppose one of the best ways to describe this is, imagine if you've got family members on the other side coming around you, and you can sense them, but it isn't actually clear, but you know that they're there. Then there could be one-on-one. There's several what will come around during mediumship when a medium or psychic is given a reading. And as the channel, or the psychic, whichever we call them, is receiving the information from the recipient, putting their interpretation to it, they can mix it a bit with some of the information what spirit are conveying through their auric field. So what we're looking at is discarnate souls standing around a person who's conducting a reading and sending thoughts like a stream of consciousness into the auric field, into the awareness, that space, what we call the awareness of the channel, with the hope and wish that they can pick it up clearly and then convey it to the recipient. We can take, in this instance, let's say a mother or father, they know who there was, they know who the sons and daughters was when there was here on the earth plane. And they know so much information about themselves and about their family members. We can't say Spirit's got it wrong in this case, because they're the ones who's got the information, what they know, what they're talking about. So as a vessel or channel, the interpretation or the space which the message has got to come through is the medium or the psychic, etc. So if our mind is clear, if our awareness is clear, then what we're looking at is becoming a clear channel. So mediumship really is based on being a clear channel more than anything else, whichever form that comes in. And it's not about moving our own thoughts out of the way or putting them to one side, etc. That's the secondary aspect. The number one thing is to be a clear channel. And if it means moving our awareness away from our normal thoughts, at that point what we're doing is moving our mind to a different frequency of awareness, because the awareness is made up of a multitude of frequencies. We are multidimensional beings, so you can imagine when we're talking about being a channel vessel, we are so attuned on so many levels, so many frequencies and vibrations of energies on a cosmic scale. While we're in the body, then it's a question of going, okay, I need to clear the channel, and then I can receive the information clearer from the spirit world, or as we're seeing now, from not just from discarnate souls on what's called the spirit planes, but we're also now seeing a lot of what's called channeling from star beings, galactic beings, celestial beings, cosmic beings, etc. Because we know there's a convergence with those beings at the moment. The spirit world and cosmic energies are converging, so that they are working in harmony. And thankfully now humanity is beginning to open up to all of these. So Sue, do you ask spirit for specific information, or do you allow spirit to bring forward what is needed? Wish to say one, the connection. Oh, bring forward what is needed. Wish to say the connection with the recipient is established. Okay, right. Good question, Sue. Thank you. I have a tendency never to ask spirit any questions because I feel like that interferes with the flow of the information. So what my kind of duty or task is always to expand, open up, make that attunement. When once I sense that spirit are present, just allow them to put what they wish into my mind and convey that. I find that when people start asking spirit questions, spirit are often going, no, you don't need to ask me any questions. Just open, just expand yourself. Let me put the information in and just give the information as it is. I think a lot of people get into a little bit of difficulty when they think, well, go back and ask them lots of questions. And I think from the world of spirit, from their side, even though they've got, compassion and respect for what's going on, ultimately, this is just about merging with a discounted soul and letting them speak as clearly as they possibly can. And we just allow that to come through us. If that makes sense. Well, I know it makes sense to you. So, as far as do I allow spirit to bring forward what is needed, my answer is yes. And that's the most beautiful way of doing it, as far as I'm concerned. And maybe it's worth saying at this point, what will happen is this differentiation between what is psychic and working psychically, and what is mediums, and what are mediums, and what is mediumship. Spirit will use all faculties, all of them. If we're doing a demonstration, what will take place when we actually step to one side as a channel or vessel, when we step to, and these are my favorite times when it happens, they will use all the energy in the space. What's present, they'll use their energy, my energy, and the attendees' energies in their form. And what we find then, for me anyway, personally, is the demonstration becomes remarkable because nobody's really controlling it, but spirit are stepping in and orchestrating the complete demonstration. And what happens at that point is we'll often see there's a flow. It's almost like an orchestra playing in a way when you're observing it and sensing it as it takes place. There's laughter, there's joy, there's love, there's tears, different forms of emotions, there's serious aspects, there's wisdom. All the facets come into play. Simply because the mind of the medium has stepped to one side and has allowed spirit to take over that demonstration as best they can. As far as mediumship is concerned, when that takes place on other frequencies, then we can say we're talking about trance communication, where the medium can stand up in an altered state, but further go into a trance state. And it's just not one spirit communicator coming through. It can be several, not all at the same time, obviously, but in the correct order. So my experience of this tells me very clearly that they will use mental mediumship, evidential mediumship, psychic mediumship. They will use whatever's out there in that space in order to not just convey the most loving message to a recipient, but to generate the most loving energy and light in that space for all those who are in attendance. So they see more than just giving a message to one recipient. They see the whole picture. When we step to one side and let go, it's a wonder to behold and be a part of, which I've experienced on many occasions. So beautiful question. So yes, it makes sense. Yet many are trained to offer list of proof even after link established. The essence of the discounted soul is important too. I totally agree, so. Totally. It's not about us. This we're still trapped in this mindset on the planet of the details. It's got to be this way. It's got to be that way. It's got to be this way. It's got to be that way. And it's like, look what I'm saying. I'm stepping in straight away. I'm controlling how it should and should not be. And for me, that's incorrect. It's a lower frequency. The higher frequencies is let spirit in and let them dance. Because when we do that, they will just come forward and the whole energy in the space is lifted up, it's raised. And it is like an orchestra playing, and it's like everybody's gone to a dance and everybody's enjoyed it. Spirit know exactly not what they're doing. It's about just knowing spirit, being aware that spirit know what they're doing. It's stepping to one side and letting them do it. And there's so much more to it. The proof business is I've encountered this, where some people are trained. It's like, no, you need to prove it to me. Where they're put under a lot of pressure, training mediums, if you like, or developing minds, developing individuals, are put under often too much pressure, and that can really interfere with their path. It's really not necessary. The most gentle way, sometimes maybe be a little bit assertive, but in a nice, where there's wisdom, and just allow the individual to shine. This is not about a teacher or a circle leader shining in the space. It's actually the quite opposite. It's the opposite. It's sitting back and encouraging everybody's gift to come to the surface in their own unique way. Nobody should be cloning, because that's what I've always thought. It's like, we're not here to clone each other. And the circle leaders just should have the capacity, the contentedness within themselves. Ego kicks in here a little bit, but I'm not going to open that one up. Just to sit back and let people in that space shine, rather than step in and control and block and all this. It's like stop. So I get this. So yeah, I've got to confess, it's not so much that I've been a rebel. Maybe I have, but I'm not here to prove my connection with spirit to anybody. I've had that from day one. Spirit's been 100% clear about that for all of us. Nobody's here to prove anything and give proof either. This is our existence is so much more than mediumship. Mediumship is just another aspect of our awareness as celestial cosmic beings. So I believe when we're developing as mediums, or our mediumship faculty, to be clear-minded, most importantly, feel the joy in the essence of one's soul, let that come to the surface. That will attune with those discarnate souls around us as they come through, which they absolutely love. And the light shining, and in that light is where the magic takes place, and where the most beautiful messages can be given. And nobody will even discuss proof. So, and like you said, the essence of the discarnate soul is important too. 100% so. I have total reverence for spirit, total. They're not my buddies. They don't proclaim to be higher than me or us or anybody else. Yet the vastness of their wisdom, for me, must be respected. Totally, because when we're talking about the spirit planes, we're talking different vibrations and waves and planes of existence where they exist upon. Not all in one group. We're talking about some which are very highly evolved souls. And when they come round and somebody says, oh yeah, my team, my buddies, it doesn't work like that at all. The essence of those discarnate souls from the light would blind us if they revealed it in its entirety. That's why many people can't see, most people can't see spirit full on. And when that does take place, that soul has dimmed its light so much for the safety of the person what's going to see it. So that's why normally we catch them, well, for many people, they'll catch it as glimpses out of the corner of their eye until we've adjusted our light and we can see what they're projecting. Maybe a previous life in front of us, standing with somebody. So when we're talking about seeing spirit through clairvoyance, we can't see their essence in that moment because it's too blinding to our physical eyes. But we can see the image they're projecting in a lesser vibration in order for us to be able to clearly see it through clairvoyance, etc. On top of that, what we're looking at, the essence of the discarnate soul. My experiences of this, when we allow the essence, or as much as the essence as we can bear to come through, because obviously when they radiate and generate their light and they're close to us, then most people will be left in tears because their light will just bring all old emotions to the surface and there'll just be an outpouring. So as close as we can bring their essence to, changes the room, it changes the atmosphere when we let them in. That for me would be beautiful. I can't wait for that day when everybody does that, when all mediums, psychics, etc., when humanity gets to that point where, I mean, at that point, then our essence will be matching, attuning to the essence, or closely to the essence of discarnate souls. So yeah, there's different evidence, etc. There's different variations. So brilliant. Thank you so much. So Patrick, hello Patrick. Have you bought your bus? Amelia, hello Amelia. Lovely to see you. Thanks for everything. Thanks. I can't even say lovely to see you because I can't even see you, but thanks for joining us. So anybody got any more questions I'd like to ask? Annie Claire, if you are giving memories to the recipient, how do you know if it is mediumship or psychic? Sorry, I need to cough. One moment. Hopefully I'm going to press the right button. Sorry. If you are giving memories to the recipient, how do you know if it is mediumship or psychic? Right. Good question, Annie. Thank you. So let's have a look at this because where do we start with this one? Okay. So like we said earlier, everything that comes from the psyche, okay. The attunement as a mediumship comes through the psychic faculty of the individual, okay. How can we differentiate between them both? Well, eventually we get to the point, there's two ways of doing this. If we can create a clear space within our awareness, then we can notice a difference between a frequency of psychic energy within ourselves. We'll feel it within ourselves. We'll sense that energy that we're picking this information up off a recipient or somebody in a space, open circle, development group, etc. We'll sense that because we've got the clarity. We've just managed to get our mind into a clear space. And in that clear space, our senses become heightened. And because they can become more refined. Okay. And when they have that fine tuning, so to speak, we then can pick up the signal. We can sense the frequency, whether our awareness has sensed that frequency from the recipient, or whether, and you can see where my hand is going here, whether a discarnate soul has stepped forward and that's coming into my awareness. So, and to be honest, I can tell you the way I've always noticed it. Literally, if I've got spirit with me, and if I can attune to them clearly and strongly enough, and they're in strong enough, which they will do at all times, then everything's just flowing from that point, coming from that same kind of source in the space around me. If I sense in front of me, anywhere in the space in front of me, in front of a recipient, that I'm getting information, then I'll know straight away I've picked this up psychically off that person. So it's interesting that you mentioned memories, Annie, because sometimes there's fundamentals to mediumship and readings. During our development, spirit will often bring the past, present, and future. They'll bring them three things. They'll be the three main aspects, what they want to come through. And in that, it will cover everything. So they'll bring the past in because as a form of establishing the link, they want to establish the link, not the medium. The medium don't need to establish a link to the recipient. We're totally irrelevant in that respect. The only time we need to establish a link to a recipient is if we're going to tune in psychically to their energies. So as a medium, our whole focus should be on the spirit world at all times. And then we hold that link until the end of the message or the demonstration. As soon as we drop our frequencies, we're going to drop into the psychic aspect. So memories of the past. So spirit will often bring memories through in order to establish the connection between them and their loved one here on the airplane. And once they've got this, and that's where some of the evidence comes into play, to be honest, because in the memories, there's specific information known only to the spirit, to the discarnate soul, and the incarnate soul, i.e. the recipient. So there's memories which involve what can be classed as evidence. Then spirit will gently move it to the present, what's going on around that individual, the recipient, in this precise moment. Because we can safely say that everybody who comes or wishes to receive a message from the spirit world, 90%, if not 99%, is all about what's happening to themselves in their life at this very moment. There's glimpses of the future, because some people go, okay, that small percentage which is left is, I'm either carrying the past or I've got glimpses of the future. But the majority is all about what's going on with them in the present. So they'll move from the past with the memories. They'll bring the information through to the present, what's going on with the individual in this moment, letting them know they're fully aware of what's happening in their life and the people around them, circumstances, situations, etc. And they'll very often then go to the future and say, okay, the spirit is saying, let's look towards September next year, in September, etc. For whatever reason, things will change. You'll be on a different thingy, or a few months, next week, you're going to encounter whatever it is. They will give a glimpse of the future, and the reason why they do this is to give that mind upliftment and hope. Is to inspire the mind. So the whole message we know is to uplift and inspire and make the individual feel lighter and feel supported, etc., etc. But they'll use the past, present, and future to do it. And the spirit used to get me to do this for years, and I absolutely loved it. And I could see the reason being what was behind it, because you're making clear reference to the past. Then they're going, okay, we can see what's happening. We think this. We want to say this. Right now, look. Let's take you to the future. There is hope for you. And you can, even as we're saying it, we can feel that energy, we can feel that light uplifting just by explaining it. So when it comes in a message for somebody, it's magical. It's absolutely beautiful. And the medium, Colin, is least involved in it. Colin's just doing, I don't want to say Colin's just doing his job. It's not because obviously it's not a bad job. Well, brilliant question. Annie, you open that one up for us. So, mediumship and psychic. Ultimately, we start to learn to know the difference. We sense because hi Linda from Canada. Hello, thanks for joining us. So, just to add on top of this one, Annie, the thing is the more we work on ourselves, we know there's different forms, the clairs, but a lot of people talking about the clairs and trying to understand. And there's different takes on the clairs, which is, everybody to their own. But one thing we can say about the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, etc., and all these fancy ones, what's coming out now, I don't know what there's about 9, 10, 15 of them. I don't know. It's gone crazy, to be honest. Basically, we can put them, all of them, into one. All of them are connected to clairsentience. So we're all clairsentient because we're sentient beings. So it tells us we're sentient beings, we're sensing, we have the capacity to sense all the different clairs. So the first one we should be kind of working on is our sentience, working on our own senses, including psychic senses. When we're talking about the psychic aspects, it's wrong to knock it. We've got to accept that is the core element of what we are. We are all psychic because we all have a mind. That's the dictionary definition. So when we have an awakening, what's happened is we're having an expansion of our psyche. And that in that expansion is where we become more sensitive than what we was previously. And we become sensitive to the other frequencies, or the initial frequencies, depending on how big the awakening was for each individual. But then at that point, we're experiencing a more refined sensitivity, sentient, as sentient beings. And it's through our psyche where it's all taking place. And then we expand further, and somehow we find that capacity, or develop that capacity, to expand more and invite those souls from the spirit planes in. And it's not just about family and friends and loved ones. We're talking spiritual guides and their guides. We're talking doorkeepers, etc. We're talking about the guides of the guides and the guides of those coming through, all from different vibrations of thought and reality. So the more we can expand ourselves, the more spirit can come in, and they will use that one thing. They use the psyche, our awareness, our mind, to conduct everything. So interesting point, Annie. You led that to the. I think the point here is to know that we are sentient beings. So clairsentience is in all the other clairs, whatever it is, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairgustance, and all them. So brilliant stuff. Patrick's bought both his buses. Chuck us the keys. Patrick, chuck us the keys, because I think there's going to be a few more jumping on them buses. So, any more questions? Anybody else would like to ask any questions? Fire away, guys. So the spirit world. Let's just while we're waiting for that. We can safely say, just sharing something here. And I've got to be careful because I've got spirit moving in on me here at the minute. So it's not often talked about. It's a lot of the emphasis is similar to what was asked. The essence. What about the essence of spirit? The spirit world is not often discussed. There seems to be so many conversations about mediumship and development and psychic aspects, which is correct because that's where we are, obviously. But what's it like on the spirit world, in the spirit planes? What really is it like? Well, first we've got to qualify it and say it is what it is to each individual mind, what experiences in there, through their, and according to their own personal perception. And it varies, obviously. From my understanding, we're talking, there's no separation, so there's no clear lines of layers as such. It's merely a merging of vibrations of light energies. So what we can say, and I'm being allowed to say this at this moment, what we can clearly say is when we're communicating with a soul from the other side, that what we're communicating with, or what's bringing us the information, is simply one incarnation which that soul has experienced in an infinite number of incarnations. So that can be quite mind-blowing to try and get your head around that. when you think about it, because it goes beyond millennia. If the soul has existed since, the beginning of the source, so to speak, which then we're talking about infinity, each of us has had a multitude of lifetimes, different realms, different planes, different experiences, etc., etc. At the point of the transition, we go into those lighter planes. Not everybody goes in them. Depends what they're carrying. But when, generally speaking, when a soul, what we call a soul, goes into those lighter planes of existence, then it's a merging and a blending according to the vibration of that soul in that moment. And they then begin their attunement, and their awareness taps in to the multitude of other lifetimes what they've had in so many other planes, not just this earth plane and not just on this planet. This is just one in the vastness of everything beyond time and space. So when a soul does come back, they're actually, I'm tempted to say they're actually projecting their last lifetime, which would have been on this earth plane. Projecting is in there because they're just creating the energy and bringing the memories through of their incarnation while they was here. It's clearly because the recipient, the family and friend or loved one here on the airplane, associates to that information regarding that particular soul. They know them by so many different aspects, character, personality, the way they look, the way, all sorts. Okay. And once that soul kind of goes back to those vibrations of light, the incarnation, that aspect of their earthly incarnation, goes back into its original form in its location within the memory bank of the vastness of its own consciousness and awareness. And when we're thinking about the spirit planes, we can't think in it in terms of human context, because it's so much more. The closest we can relate to it are planes of existence. But even then, it doesn't do it justice by any means. We're talking an ethereal energy, which is vast and expansive in its entirety. So we know from some of the experiences that our family and friends will be there to meet us. Will be there to meet us. But the further we evolve as souls, whether it's in the body or out of the body, the brighter the light we enter into when we go to the spirit planes. But we're also in communication with other worlds and other beings. Because obviously, clearly, we've had incarnations as cosmic beings, star beings, all those aspects of them incarnations are within our field of awareness, so to speak. We just literally dissolve in the physical body at that point of what we call death. So, Linda Burton, thank you so much. Linda, when I get random goosebumps, is that spirit speaking to me or perhaps confirming something? Oh, both, Linda. I would say, good question, both. When you get random goosebumps, that spirit drawing close and kind of just coming close, sufficiently close enough, just so you can get that sensation of the goosebumps to say, okay, I know somebody is around me. And I would say intuition is the important thing here, Linda. Go with your intuition. As soon as you sense those goosebumps, there'll be an intuitive thought coming in as to who that soul is, who's coming around you. Okay. So you go, okay, as in a mother, I know this is my mother, I can sense the energy. And if you draw that energy in, or you get closer, or both, if you can, make that attunement, and it will be very subtle in the beginning, and there'll be lots of questions. But if you can make that attunement to those energies where the goosebumps are coming from, it will then start opening up, and you'll be able to sense intuitively who it is. And when I say intuitively, I'd like to just say clearly, intuition is first thought. It's absolutely nothing else. It's not instinct. Instinct and intuition is different. Our intuition tells us every single time what's going on. And then the secondary, and it's important not to question our intuition, to be honest. Just opening it up slightly, and we'll hold this question if we can. Open this up a bit more. When we're trying to develop our intuition, it takes time, or it can take time, because the intuition, we think on with the thoughts we have on a normal everyday frequency, there's an intuition there, but it can be a slow vibration of intuition. What we're trying to achieve is pure intuition, where there's a thought without question. That's pure intuition. That's the one we're trying to get. So, and then we see mediums try to get to this point all the time, because they're trying to catch the first thought for what spirit are telling them. Okay, that's why it's important to become a channel rather than be the intermediate, getting the information, thinking about it, then conveying it. That's where we're stepping. We contaminate the information as soon as our mind does that. So intuition is really interesting and so important. So, and then speaking to me or perhaps confirming something, 100%. You may be having a thought, you may be having a thought, i.e. intuitive thought, or you may be having a feeling instinctively in your gut, because the instinct belongs around the gut area. Our instinct is that kind of low, not low, but that kind of sharp, oh, my gut's telling me something. Okay. And your goosebumps will go, oh, okay, I've just had a thought or feeling, right, they're confirming it for me. So, and then it's just a question accepting it, Linda, and then developing, refining. This is because mediumship and communication with all the worlds, whichever, whatever beings we're communicating with, whether it's in other worlds or other dimensions, other planes, it's all about refining our awareness in that sense of communication to understand and recognize who may be around us in any given moment. And ultimately, if we become empty vessels, then it's very clear who is around. Like, as an example, I'm very clear, I'm very aware, I'm very clear, it's very clear to me which soul is standing next to me at this very moment, connected with me and my spiritual path. Simply because there's a moment in there where in the conversation I just empty and it's clear to me. So the idea is just to, when we're developing, is to try and develop those subtle frequencies, but be gentle with yourself. I've probably gone waffling off on one, Linda, sorry, but really good question. When I get random goosebumps, is that spirit? Yeah. Terence, hi Terence, thanks for joining us. Good day. Lovely to have you with us. So how are we doing for time? Well, okay then. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thanks, Linda. Mediumship Mondays, whether it's a regular thing, it may be a regular thing, but it's just basically it'll be a Q&A with different topics. Most of them will be centered around mediumship. If anybody's interested talking about mediumship, there's a book here, A to Z Index of Spiritualism. It's available now. It's got all the different aspects in it. Mediumship, trance, healing, etc., etc. So, and it's available on Minorca Consciousness Group. You can get in touch with us. And that's about it, guys. So from Spirit and myself, from Ava and from the Ethereal Virtual Centre, we look forward to welcoming you back. Wherever you are, please feel the joy of Spirit as much as you possibly can. And do it your way with Spirit. Your way. Because that's the purest way, as far as I'm concerned. Everything else in the periphery of our awareness simply reflections what may or may not help us on our path. You can't beat working with you, your mind and spirit. They let them lead you more than anything, and try and be that empty vessel for them, because that's where the purest form of communication comes through, whether it's through healing, psychic readings, mediumship, evidential mediumship, trance, channeling, etc. So thank you once again for. Oh, sorry, Kath, you was meditating. Oh, sorry. Well, at least you was meditating. At least you was close to spirit, Kath. So, you know, you're probably getting your own stuff anyway. So, thanks for joining. I'm so sorry. I'm just about to go. Lots of love to everybody, and we'll speak very soon. Hopefully, join us at Ethereal Virtual Centre. Have a look and check us out. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, night, evening, wherever you are in the world.